All right, get ready for a journey back in time, because today we're diving deep into one of the most celebrated epics in world literature, the Ramayana.
Sounds exciting.
It is. Now, we won't be tackling the entire epic.
Of course, that would take quite a while.
I would. We're focusing on excerpts from a translation by Ramesh C. Dutt from 1899.
Ah, interesting choice.
It is, isn't it?
Mm.
And our goal today is to explore not just the main story, but also all the little details, the cultural and societal element.
The things that make it so relevant even today.
Exactly. So think of it like this. We're exploring this huge, intricate tapestry.
I like that.
We'll be following the main threads of the story, but we'll also stop to appreciate the individual colors, the texture,
The symbols.
like the things that give it such depth.
Makes sense.
Okay, so to set the stage, the Ramayana opens with a description of the city of Ayodhya.
Okay.
And it's not just any city, it's depicted as utopia.
Everyone's happy.
Everyone is happy, prosperous, morally upright.
Paradise on earth.
Almost. And I think that this idealized image of Ayodhya really sets the tone for the whole epic.
It does, doesn't it?
Because it establishes this sense of perfect order and harmony.
Which then gets disrupted.
Right. And that contrast is what drives the narrative forward.
Interesting. You could say it represents a sort of moral compass.
Exactly. For the characters and their actions.
I see.
So in this perfect city, we meet King Dasaratha
Okay.
and his 4 sons,
There are 4.
Rama, Farad, Lakshman, and Satrudna.
Got it.
But immediately the spotlight is on Rama.
He's the main character.
He is. But he's not just any prince. To win the hand of the beautiful Sita,
Oh, this is where the bow comes in.
exactly, he has to perform this incredible feat bending Shiva's bow.
Which no one else could do.
No one else could do it.
Right.
And that moment is crucial.
It shows how strong he is.
Yes. It's not
Yeah.
just physical strength.
What else is it then?
It signifies Rama's divine favor, his ability to uphold cosmic order.
So it's like he's destined for greatness.
Exactly. He's established as a hero right from the start.
Right from the beginning.
But as we know, things are never simple.
There's always a twist.
Always. Rama's path to the throne isn't smooth sailing.
Of course not.
And this is where Queen Kaikeyi enters the picture.
One of Dasaratha's wives.
Right. And her maid, Manthara, well, let's just say she's not exactly helpful.
I see where this is going.
She manipulates Kaikeyi, reminding her of a promise that Dasaratha made years ago.
A promise that could change everything.
A promise that could put her son, Farad, on the throne instead of Rama.
Oh, wow.
And this is where the human drama really starts to unfold.
Because now there's a conflict.
Exactly. Kaikeyi, influenced by Manthara, demands that Dasaratha keeps his word.
And what does he do?
He's absolutely torn, bound by his promise, but heartbroken at the thought of banishing Rama.
The rightful heir.
Exactly.
Now what happens?
There's this incredibly moving passage where he says, "Darkness deepens o'er my senses, and my spirit sinks in woe."
Oh, wow. You can really feel his pain.
You really can. And then there's Rama.
What does he do?
Well, he's the epitome of duty and honor.
He accepts it.
He accepts his 13 years of exile without a complaint.
That's incredible.
There's even this tender scene where he says goodbye to his mother, Queen Kausalya, promising to return.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. But you can't help but admire his commitment to Dharma,
His sense of duty.
even when it means losing everything.
It's a powerful message.
It really is. And that's what makes Rama such a revered figure in Indian culture and beyond.
Because he puts righteousness above his own happiness.
Absolutely. So Rama begins his journey into the wilderness.
With Sita and Lakshman.
Right. But they're not alone.
Aw, who else is there?
The text describes crowds of citizens following them, heartbroken at Rama's exile.
Wow. That shows how much they loved him.
It really does. And their journey isn't just physical, you know.
It's a spiritual quest, too.
Exactly. They encounter these hermitages along the way.
Like the one hosted by the sage Paradvaja.
Right. It's like stepping into a different world, one that emphasizes introspection and wisdom.
And the connection to the divine.
I like that.
Yeah.
Even in the wilderness, ritual and tradition are super important.
You can tell that from the way they build Rama's dwelling.
Yes. The text describes the construction of his home in Chitrakuta.
And the performance of a sacrifice.
Right. It shows that even in exile, Rama follows proper conduct.
Seeking blessings for his new home.
Exactly. And meanwhile, back in Ayodhya, Dasaratha just consumed with guilt.
He's heartbroken.
He is. On his deathbed, he tells this story from his youth about accidentally killing a hermit's son.
Oh, wow.
It's a story full of regret and it foreshadows his own loss.
That's powerful.
It is. And that loss, of course, is Rama,
Right.
because meanwhile, Rama's brother Farhat arrives at the forest.
He's been offered the throne?
He has, but he doesn't want it.
He wants Rama to come back.
He begs Rama to return, saying that his duty is to rule the kingdom.
That's interesting.
And this is where we see these two different perspectives on Dharma.
On duty.
Right. Farhat represents a more pragmatic view.
That Rama should rule.
Yes. But Rama remains committed to his father's oath.
And his exile.
And his exile. There's even this great scene where a sage named Jabali tries to convince Rama to loosen his grip on Dharma.
Really? What does he say?
He basically says there's no proof of an afterlife, so why sacrifice your happiness for it?
That's a surprisingly modern take.
It is, isn't it? But in the end, Rama doesn't waver.
He stays true to his word.
He does. He rejects Jabali's argument.
Showing how strong his conviction is.
And that leads us to Panchavati.
This beautiful forest setting.
Yes. Which is about to become anything but peaceful.
Oh.
The text describes it beautifully, all the trees, the birds, the natural beauty.
Sounds idyllic.
It does. But then trouble arrives.
In what form?
In the form of Surpanaka.
Who's that?
She's the sister of the demon king Ravana.
Oh, I see.
And let's just say she's not there for a friendly visit.
She's causing trouble.
She becomes infatuated with Rama and then Lakshmana.
And it doesn't end well.
It does not. Her advances are, well, let's just say they're not subtle.
And Lakshman isn't happy.
No, he is not. And that sets off a chain of events.
Leading to the main conflict.
Exactly. And that conflict centers around Sita's abduction.
By Ravana.
By Ravana. He wants revenge for his sister.
So he takes Sita.
He tricks her, disguising himself as a hermit, and takes her to his kingdom in Lanka.
Oh, no.
It's a turning point in the story.
Because it goes from exile to a battle between good and evil?
Yes. Rama, now allied with Sugriva, the exiled Vanara king,
the Monkey King,
has to assemble an army
to rescue Sita.
And that's where we'll pick up next time.
I can't wait.
Me neither. So we left off with Rama forming this alliance with Sugriva.
This exiled Vanara king.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? This idea of finding strength in shared adversity.
It is. Two leaders, both wronged, finding purpose together.
Exactly. It's not just strategic either, it's emotional.
Rama's lost his wife, Sugriva his kingdom.
Right. And that shared pain, it fuels their determination.
It creates this powerful bond between them.
And their first task is to help Sugriva reclaim his kingdom.
From his brother, Bali.
Right. But this isn't your average sibling rivalry.
It's a lot more complicated.
The battle between them is one of the most morally complex events in the whole epic.
Bali is strong, but also very proud.
And full of rage.
His wife, Tara, actually tries to warn him.
She's incredibly wise.
She tells him not to fight Rama.
But he doesn't listen.
And he pays the price.
It's a classic case of hubris.
Even the strongest can be brought down by their own flaws.
And it adds this moral ambiguity, doesn't it?
It does, because even though Rama is on the right side, his actions still have consequences.
Tragic consequences.
That's what makes the Ramayana so interesting. It doesn't shy away from the complexities of right and wrong.
Or victory and loss.
It makes you think about morality.
And the consequences of even good intentions.
Exactly.
So the search for Sita continues.
Sugriva sends out his scouts.
Vanara scouts all across the land, even across the sea.
It's a huge undertaking.
It emphasizes just how epic this story is.
And that brings us to Lanka.
This island kingdom ruled by Ravana.
It's a whole different world compared to the forest.
It's like going from serenity to this dazzling city.
Lanka is described as this magnificent place filled with palaces and gardens.
It's all about wealth, power, sophistication.
It really highlights the clash of civilizations.
It's a clash of values, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. On one hand, the simplicity of the forest.
Focused on spiritual growth.
And on the other, the opulent material world of Lanka.
It's fascinating.
And then we have Hanuman.
He has to navigate this unfamiliar world.
He's a warrior, but also a diplomat.
He has to move between these two contrasting realms.
To find Sita.
And he does.
But she's heartbroken.
Imprisoned, longing for Rama.
The scene where Hanuman gives her Rama's message is so touching.
A token of his love, a promise of rescue.
And Sita's lament, it's heartbreaking.
She's surrounded by luxury, but she's completely desolate.
Without Rama.
It speaks volumes about the power of love.
That it can transcend even the worst circumstances.
Absolutely. Now, back in Lanka, there's trouble brewing.
In Revan's own court.
Right. His brother, Bibhishan, tries to reason with him.
He tells him to return Sita.
To avoid war.
He says it's the only way to peace.
But Ravana, he's consumed by pride.
And desire.
He refuses to listen.
It's tragic.
It is. And it shows that even in the enemy camp, there are voices of reason.
Voices of compassion.
It highlights the consequences of ego.
And the refusal to listen to wise counsel.
And so, the stage is set for war.
Rama's forces arrive at Lanka.
This vast army of Vanaras.
And the battle begins.
It's described in vivid detail.
Epic battles, heroic feats, and tragic losses.
It shows the Ramayana's grandeur.
And its unflinching portrayal of war.
But even amidst the chaos, there are these moments of deep emotion.
Like Sita lamenting for Rama.
She thinks he's dead.
It's a powerful expression of love and devotion.
It reminds us that even in epic battles, there are personal stories. Stories of love and loss.
And even Ravan shows a different side.
When his son Indrajit dies,
He's overcome with grief.
and rage and despair,
It shows his vulnerability.
it humanizes him.
It reminds us that even those who do terrible things have complex emotions.
And that even the most powerful can be brought low by tragedy.
Exactly. The Ramayana, even with its fantastical elements, it deals with universal human experiences.
Love, loss, duty.
The struggle to understand a world filled with both beauty and suffering.
And speaking of suffering, Ravan, in his rage, tries to kill Sita.
But luckily he stopped.
It shows his internal conflict.
Right, he's capable of cruelty, but also bound by a sense of honor.
He recognizes Sita's worth.
It's fascinating.
But ultimately, the hero has to face the villain.
Rama versus Ravana.
Armed with divine weapons, riding a chariot sent by Indra.
It's the final showdown.
More than just a physical fight, though, right?
It's symbolic. Good versus evil.
Order versus chaos.
By Rama's victory.
It represents the restoration of balance.
The triumph of good.
But what I find interesting is that Rama doesn't celebrate.
He mourns for Ravana.
He recognizes his strength, his courage,
It shows Rama's nobility.
and compassion.
He understands that even his enemy was complex.
Capable of both good and bad,
It reinforces the message of Dharma.
which includes forgiveness and understanding.
Absolutely.
And so Rama returns to Ayodhya.
With Sita,
There are celebrations. Rama is crowned king.
it's a moment of relief.
Harmony restored.
And his reign is described as a golden age.
Peace, prosperity, righteous rule,
Just like the Ayodhya we saw at the beginning.
and a return to perfection.
But as we know, the story doesn't end there.
Things are never that simple.
There's a twist.
We shift to this frame story
Rama listening to the Ramayana being sung.
by Valmiki's pupils.
It's brilliant, really.
It emphasizes the power of storytelling.
The way it transmits culture and history,
It reminds us that the Ramayana is a living narrative,
still shaping beliefs today.
and even Rama is moved by the performance.
It shows the story's power.
But then, there's a turn of events. Rama, influenced by rumors, he asks Sita to prove her innocence.
After everything they've been through.
After everything.
That's awful.
It's heartbreaking. A reminder of the double standards women face.
Even in ancient stories.
Exactly. And Sita's response is incredibly powerful.
She's hurt, she's angry.
She calls upon Mother Earth to swallow her up.
If she's been faithful.
And that's exactly what happens.
The earth splits open.
Sita disappears.
It's a moment of such ambiguity.
Some see it as a sacrifice.
Others as a rejection of those societal norms.
It's an ending that stays with
It
you.
makes you question justice, gender roles, duty, happiness.
It's complex.
And that's the genius of the Ramayana.
It's not a simple story.
It grapples with real human dilemmas.
It makes you think about your own values.
It's a story that offers no easy answers.
But it invites us to engage with its characters.
Its themes, its message.
And that's what makes it so relevant today.
Thousands of years later.
I mean, it's just amazing how that one moment,
Mhm.
with Sita returning to the earth, it can be interpreted in so many different ways.
It really can.
A tragic sacrifice, right? Or her rejecting these societal expectations.
Maybe even returning to some sort of divine origin.
Yeah. It really shows just how rich and complex the Ramayana is.
It really does, and I think that's a big part of why this epic has lasted so long.
It does, yeah.
It doesn't give us simple answers.
Right.
It makes us think about things from different angles, come to our own conclusions.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that really stood out to you? Like, what are the big questions that the Ramayana raises?
Well, I think the most obvious one is Dharma.
Right. Duty.
Right. We see Rama, this perfect example of righteousness,
Doing what's right.
even when it means giving up everything,
But then there's Sita,
who is also incredibly devoted and loyal.
but she's the one who suffers the most.
It is kind of strange.
It makes you think about what righteousness really means. You know?
It does, Is it even possible to live a perfect life?
especially in a world with so many challenges.
Right. And then there are the so-called villains,
Are they really evil?
or are they just driven by their own desires?
I mean, take Ravana, for example.
He's motivated by lust and pride.
But he also shows grief,
Remorse.
even a strange kind of honor.
He's complicated.
He is, and I think that's what makes the Ramayana so interesting.
It's not black and white.
The characters aren't just good or evil.
They're human.
They're driven by different things, good and bad.
It makes you realize that we all have those shades of gray inside us.
Absolutely. So, what do you think? What can we take away from this epic tale?
That's a great question.
Is it a guide for how to live?
Yeah.
A warning about desire? Or just a timeless story about love and loss?
I think it can be all of those things.
Really?
It gives us a way to look at our own lives, you know?
To examine our own values
Think about duty, love, the choices we make.
and the consequences of those choices.
Exactly.
It's definitely given us a lot to think about.
It has.
And I like that it doesn't give us easy answers.
Me too.
It leaves us with questions. Questions about justice, fate, free will.
The challenges of being good in a world where bad things happen.
A powerful story.
It really is. And that's why it's still relevant today.
Thousands of years later, people are still reading it, discussing it.
It makes you think.
And that's what a good story should do, right?
Absolutely.
I-
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the Ramayana.
It has.
Yeah.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, though.
We have. But maybe that's the point.
Maybe the real value is in the journey itself
In wrestling with these ideas.
and letting them change the way we see the world.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed it as much as I have.
Me too.